How are you?
50.
And we're live. Once again, we're meeting as a rules act. Today it is January 29th, time 4:02. In, I guess, the roll call, we have Councilman Preston, Councilwoman Smith, Walter Fagner, we have Councilman DeLong, and our President of Council. I guess we'll get started. You made a couple changes here already.
You asked me to
Draft.
take the discussion from the last two meetings and try to draft it into the document.
Right.
It's not a first draft.
Okay.
I need to review all of this and Finder has not had a chance to review it legalese.
Okay.
But we'll definitely get to that. So what I have not changed is any of the discussion that we had about the committee, rules committee, and the president pro tem versus the president. Those, we talked about them. I expected three different ways to draft it with three different meetings. And so once we get through these what I consider minor changes, then we need to go back through it. You can tell me how you want me to draft that other portion. So,
Okay.
probably easiest if we just flip through this. Some of you also have other notes that you made, and if I didn't catch something, please, add it. On the first cover, I think I rid of the 20, 24, 25 because it really doesn't fit at all. On the index under the committees, I changed rules / organization and this organization because that meeting didn't have anything to do with the rule. They were just talking about putting people on committees. So I changed the name. Same thing on the first page of the actual rules, down to 24, 25. Left room for us to put whenever this gets adopted so that we know it's effective date. We had talked quite a bit about the majority and the rest of it, but Mr. Finer clarified that my concerns about entitled to vote and everything didn't matter. So actually the only change to that one was we took out the definition of speaker. Several pages. On the order of business, page 8, we talked about moving public communications oral to not be ready before the end of the business. We talked about putting it before new business. In the last meeting, the mayor suggested before unfinished business. But I wrote it the way the committee had talked about it, and we can do that. I think the concept is you don't want to just have the stupid headline word when it's adjourned, everybody goes, she wants to be able to address some of their concerns in their business or do whatever. Three of you tell me where you want, whether you want it, where I put it, or whether you want to be formed for any places.
I think it's fine there. I think it gives council a chance to go over anything that's currently in discussion. We can hear it in the community. We'll get anything.
It allows for a council member after they're done speaking to say, hey, I think we ought to do this.
Okay. Under public communications. I don't think I asked you about this one, but it talks about speakers having to be from the city of Findlay or a neighboring community. When they fill out the form, it says what ward are you in. Well, if they don't answer a ward, they're not from Findlay. Tell me what neighboring community.
Is it on the form?
It's not on the form right now, but we can change the form.
As opposed to just neighboring community, can we just make it more generalized as in, or what interest do you have for city? Because just because they're in a neighboring community doesn't mean that they have a right to speak to our city.
Well, it does say,
Or the reason I can't say it.
it does say they have to be directly impacted by the operations city stuff, but I just, well, you can make a great point. We got to decide if what to put on that form.
I mean, because they could be from Toledo, but if they are the vice president of a company that does business in Finley, then
Right.
it would be of what interest to you.
Okay. Maybe note that. Okay, got it. Since the 60 minutes is a continuous, I just took that out. Yeah, the item, that's just a change from where it's at in the order. Open the debate. Now, we talked about the meeting first clause. And I'm on the right question, making that, council members that have the right to question, not everybody. A majority requirements for council action. Majority is a capitalized M, and that's 6 council members. Small M majority is those majority of the people at the meeting. So we do actually have majority requirements. There's a small M and a big M. Small M, and it's only for allowing somebody to continue to speak or approving some. And there's one like 2 or 3 of them, real minor things, but it is the majority of the members present. So that's why I just try to make that clear. Voting, this is one that Rob may agree with. This is the motion to reconsider. And as I talked about this, under Robert's Rules of Order, somebody that missed the meeting cannot call for a reconsideration. Somebody that keeps on the prevailing side can, and it can only be done once. Robert's Rules of Order are very clear on that. But our rules are saying if somebody was absent, they come back to the next meeting, they can ask for the right. And that creates possibility to one reconsideration is going to be anything by somebody prevailed and potential for somebody that missed the meeting. They would have not because our rules don't align with Robert's rules. So I tried to draft them. Breaking the tie, I just a couple places in these rules where things are said in a couple different places, and I just took them out of one. Say it once, don't say it two places slightly different.
Well, I think that's where a lot of the confusion was coming in, because you'd say it's slightly different, you didn't know which one.
Exactly. So I just did that. I happened to bring the tie. Going over to President and Council, under item B, I tried to draft what Planner talked about. To make it clear that the president is acting mayor, there's no right to break it up. We added the word standing to it because it's a proper committee. We deleted the language about being part of the executive branch of service. Some time. Going over to President Pro Tem. The deletion clarifying that President Pro Tem retains the right to vote for presiding officer, but that they don't have the right to break a tie. And item 2 is written verbatim with another point later on in the rules, so I deleted it here. Committees, rules organization. There's a committee, yeah, I call it a committee, because as it's currently drafted, set up a committee, and I got rid of the rules because they're not working on the rules. Under strategic planning committee, this spreadsheet that the mayor provided, which you got people's preferences. In the footnotes, it says we'll have 5 members. And we put 5 members in. And last term had 5 members. What I missed was the mayor is actually a voting member, so, we don't. So we just had the 4 committees, that would be 4 plus the mayor's 5, and then got an odd number. I just deleted the first part, and I said the committee should include those 4, and I didn't say whether it should have 4 or 5 council members. Mayor said she didn't care if we get 5. So this year we have 5. If you want to.
We're gonna use the word recommend. You have one. So, are we gonna use the word represent in that? Or are we gonna say?
I said should
include.
and I didn't say the chairman of each.
Right, right.
A council member.
A council member from each committee.
I changed almost all of the shall to shoulds, except for the one that references the Ohio Revised Code. So I thought, well, if that's actually a requirement, and that would be,
What's a
keep
shame?
it that way. So I changed that to shall. Yeah, those others are on the next page. There was the wording, about accepting committee reports. Right. I think you pointed out the difference between that, what our committee said, and Steiner said that the committee letter was the proper way to do it, so I changed that. You were matched it together. So would you approve a committee report, you're just acknowledging the report? If you need to actually vote on something and they're going to be brought up under legislation, or we'll actually vote on, such as in the last meeting when the organization committee had their meeting. Well, we didn't just approve the amendments, we actually voted to approve the recommendation, the right legislation that we actually voted on.
Can I ask a question? On the committees, I don't see anything here about it. There is an ad hoc committee as far as the number of people for an ad hoc committee. Is that in there someplace?
So it has to be less than a majority. If we 3, it can be 5, but it can be 6.
Okay, so there's no specific rule for how many. can be.
And I committee shall have a number.
More than 10. You can't have more than 10. Section E, number 1.
No ad hoc committee shall have greater than a majority of councilors. You can't have
11 feet.
what?
Oh, I see. Oh, it said majority.
Majority, so we have 9. Or
You
you only have.
Yeah, you could have more than 6 now.
Yes.
So that is not limited to 3 then?
No,
There's not a limit.
No,
I think I
The
read
limit would be
this.
6,
I read this and say,
because you can't have more than a majority, so your limit would be
I thought it was 5. I thought 6 would be a majority.
6 would be a majority, so it would be 5. So you can't have more than 5, so that's your limit.
Right. And if you're gonna have more than that, you might as well have a committee of the whole.
Right.
Just make it. So then the president pro tem decides how many is going to be on the committee,
Except you took that language out.
whether it's
No.
going to be 3 or 5.
Shall appoint members of
Just
all
don't
ad hoc
The
committees.
president brought down shall appoint, and membership thereof is required by the majority. So if she puts 3 on it and council says
Everybody vote.
no, then we reject it. You know, if majority says I don't like that recommendation, we reject it, and she gets to try again. But if she, yeah, so.
do you want to just put the number in there?
Well, it depends on what the issue is, whether you think it's.
Well, as far as the
Council
maximum,
votes on it.
shall have the number of
We
members
took that word in.
greater than.
You might as well just say 5. 5.
Yeah.
Okay, we can make it 5.
If you read it too fast, you'll
Yeah.
get it.
Okay, I just,
Yeah.
because that question came up.
Okay,
I think
I'm talking too much now, so. You think it should be 3, or you think it should say?
So that's what I'm saying.
what, it has to be an odd number, apparently. It has to be either 3 or.
I think you put in there,
Can't be
that
full.
it shall not exceed 5.
I mean, it's the same. I think-
It's over there.
That's just.
If you get more than 5, you might as well be all the time.
You can put 4, but that means you
You don't want to mess with
don't really want to mess with that, because then
Yeah,
there's.
because then you have a tie vote.
Or all the time.
Yeah,
Could happen.
okay, I'm just asking, yeah.
I would hope that you would normally say, because three people can do this. If you're, we have three doing this, we had three on, organizations together. But if it was an issue, a lot of people are interested in, you can go five.
Or you might have people, more than three people who are really qualified to be on it. You really want all those people on it. If the max is out of three, then you gotta say, well,
Right.
Joe would be great, but that makes it four, that makes it, now if you can go up to five, then you get, if you got people who are qualified because of their employment or whatever they have. Max it out at five, but don't go, as low as three. I mean, it's always been, it usually seems like ad hoc committees are three, but
The
three's at five.
We're actually talking about voting members because like your role here on this committee, I consider the committee of three and we got
Right.
two ex officio.
Right.
So not more than five voting members. And you're, Danny, you're in as a guest, but we're going to do, and I'm going to do this. I'm not. Okay, yes, I'm guessing. Okay, we can change that to make it read 5 minutes. Building numbers. And then I just, again, the last thing under adoption. It says it in the first paragraph, I don't know why I didn't say it again. I think you, that's why I did it.
Right, right.
You guys can still think about some of those, but do those generally.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, no drastic changes in it, just basically
Yeah.
wording, getting rid of duplicate messages.
Yeah, now the more significant change you talked about the Thursday evening was whether you wanted. Yeah.
It's together, right?
If I may on that real quick, my thoughts, just looking at section 3 and section 4. Two things that I thought about adding to section 3 for president of the council is I thought if we added verbiage in there to say that the president shall appoint members to the organization committee in order to create committee assignments. One that will help us out from the standpoint of if we ever have 10 new members to council again and don't have anybody to appoint anybody, you'll have the ability to do that as soon as the election's over. But then I also thought that we should add in the president of the council, that they have the ability to appoint the president pro tem. Both of these things having to be approved by council as a whole.
We normally nominate president pro.
That's what I was gonna say.
And we vote on it first meeting, so we don't really have.
Council picks pro tem.
Huh?
Council picks pro tem.
Yeah.
Well, and here's my thought on that. I know how it works at this point, but I thought that if we had. Well, okay, so the council's gonna do that at the first meeting, so we're not gonna pick anything up by having the nomination ready.
If,
I was just trying to think if we could have that nomination ready to be thrown out there quicker. We could have a pro tem in place earlier.
we could do that, if we appoint one, we're gonna, if you just tell the president to appoint one, you can appoint one before the first meeting. And then the president pro tem could set up this committee as it's currently drafted. If you want the president to pick this committee, the president's in place, it's right after election, the president can do that. That committee can then work on the committee assignments and have it ready for the first meeting. As
Yeah, and I think if we just have the president in place to pick the organization committee, I think that will accomplish what I'm trying to do to get that in place. Because that will then empower the president to start getting things in motion. But it's still gonna be a committee that's doing those assignments, so it's not gonna just be one person. And I think we can stay the same with the pro tem being nominated and voted on at the first meeting. I think I'm all right with that. I would like to see the verbiage added that the president will appoint the organization committee. Just so that can be in place earlier.
You're not saying having the president select president pro tem.
No,
You're saying
just the
the
committee.
president, have the president the ability to put committees together.
Well, select the organization committee that will
Oh.
put committees together.
But really, all you're doing, you're still gonna, I mean, I was struggling how you want it. At one point, I thought, somebody made a comment that they didn't like the idea that a subset, a committee picked the committee seats. And I heard one that said, well, they weren't sure they wanted, I wasn't sure what you wanted. So all you have to do to change that is instead of saying appointed by President Pro Tem, just take Pro Tem, temporary out, and appointed by the President.
In the organization committee.
In your organization.
Yes.
Okay, and then it's still done by a committee, so you get three or potentially, say 3 people,
Well,
things,
that way the president has control over how many people are on that committee.
and then they have to go out and. But what we hope they'll go out and,
Do a little research.
do some research and come up with, what they believe is reasonable line to. Okay.
Well, and that way too, I think it protects the old quid pro quo assumption too of, you know, if one person's in charge of assigning committee, then it's the president, then everybody's gonna try to butter up to the president. You know, but if it's still on a committee, it will help protect that quid pro quo action by having multiple people.
Yeah, so it's still a group that has to sit down and discuss it, come up with a recommendation. Okay.
So there's a pro temp on that committee? Are they on the committee?
The 3.
The
Yeah,
organization.
the organization committee?
Who's who?
The president.
No, he's taking.
We haven't elected the president pro tem yet. You just, the president would,
I'm saying, are they normally, or is that?
No, he's taking that out. That's what we were talking about.
Okay.
What I'm trying to accomplish, he doesn't have to add anything
Exactly.
to section 3. He's just going to delete the line appointed by President Pro Tem. Because other than that,
Put president.
it does not say any requirements on who should be in the organization committee.
Okay. Okay, so you could pick the president pro tem without even knowing.
It's supposed to be voted on the council.
No, that-
Right, but I'm just,
that happens at the first meeting.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Time council members get to-
Interesting turn of events.
Says that the theory here is that soon after January 1st, but before first meeting, the president,
Council has been,
a president's gonna try to put together a committee organization.
right,
Committee.
Yes, it doesn't need council approval. The president just picks 3 council members and said, it's your job to go out and figure out what council members are interested in being on what committees and get together, and
They would have had to done that this year,
they would have done. it in
January 2nd,
December.
3rd, 4th, or 5th,
Or
or,
Well, technically, they could have done
as
it.
soon as they're,
but the president not having the authority until January 1st.
Well, but this is,
Well, he's elected, but
elected, yeah.
he's done nothing until
but it also
after midnight, December 31st.
doesn't stop him from
but does
Moving
that stop
forward,
them
right?
from having conversations with individuals?
about,
I don't think so. You just couldn't formally make any
right,
selection.
right.
No.
You can talk all you want.
So that's our,
So what really happened is the mayor sent out the email, getting everybody's interest, which was great. And everybody said which of the major committees they wanted to be on, what they thought of the other positions. And then the only councilman coming back was Andy Arment, and my understanding was he went around to talk to all of you, got more information. And then, I sat down with information Dan gave me, and we hadn't set up the committee yet. But soon I put together a rough draft, thinking how could this work? Then they set up the committee, and Dan actually put me on the committee, not voting. There was 3 voting members. I just laid out what I had come up with, and then they looked at it. They made a couple changes. They said, no, we'd like to change these chairmanship positions. We'd like to do something else. And then they approved it, and that's all that happened.
I think what this accomplishes is it gets the ball rolling and puts someone in charge of getting it.
Yeah, I gotta think it through,
Right.
because this year there wasn't anybody, nobody had any authority. So you could all get together at a bar if you wanted to and talk city issues. Because you didn't have any authority and no reason that you were required to have an open meeting. Next December, everybody's coming back and
So
I gotta think that through.
It's also,
once the next president is sworn in, which is before our first meeting.
Well, he's good for 2 years, so for 2 years.
there's nothing's gonna happen on this laws until, for 2 years. It's when we all.
It's
Yeah, it would be
preparing
going into
for the
28.
future.
So I'm going into the past here. You have a president that's outgoing, you have a president that's incoming. And what I'm trying to set up, or I think what we're trying to set up here is the ability for that incoming president to have something in place that he can get a committee together before the first meeting that will have these nominations for each committee in the first meeting ready to be voted on. And if you have your president in place, they can set up the committee because it doesn't have to be voted on. So once they're sworn in, they can put the committee together. That committee can then have conversations and come up with their list of nominations. That list of nominations would then be ready for the first meeting for everybody in council to vote on at that first meeting. So we're not in a situation where we're at right now.
So president sends out a letter or an email going, having conducted my research, I would like these 3 people, whatever, to be on the organization committee.
And then we can just get our pro temp on first day.
I get together and now.
He or she can.
You bring up a good point. This is the only committee where it doesn't say these 3 people are trying to make nominations. They're not trying to do city business. And it doesn't say it has to be an open meeting. It just says these 3 are the committee. Every other one of them says that they're a public meeting.
And then that organization committee
He's picking the committees.
It's to pick it's just
Picking individuals.
before the first meeting in January.
putting that draft out there and said.
They're not officially putting people on committees till after. the
They
first
don't
meeting.
go, they don't put them on the committee.
It's-
So
They're just getting the 3
You
people
got
that are gonna push it.
They are, they're
Recommendations.
yes, they're forming recommendations for each committee to be voted on at the first meeting.
So that recommendation can come right out with the agenda for the first meeting and you find out whether the council would agree with it.
When would that organization committee meet?
Just after the first meeting, right? After January 1st?
Well, so maybe that's the question for you, is that after they're sworn in?
For after January
That's
1st.
Well,
Yeah. Does anything change?
if we go, so we're looking at it as the situation that we had going in from 25 to 26, where we had people that weren't necessarily activated again until.
And so the way I saw it is the only way this could have worked was if Mr. Russell, as our president pro tem of the former group, had picked the committee. And then the committee, there was only, Dan Yarmouth was the only one that was still a council member and gonna be a new council member, but I read this and the only way it worked was if Grant said, Dan and BJ and Carol, you are the committee, get ready for the first meeting.
But BJ Carroll wouldn't have any authority
So
till
that's what we're trying
January
to, that's what we're
till
trying to.
January
figure out.
1st.
Is it January 1st or is it sworn in?
And they swore in. and-
No, the swearing in is not,
It's nothing.
that's, no, you're being sworn in to have your official duties on January 1st.
I mean, are they allowed to talk about it and then just finalize the recommendation on January 1st?
I suppose they would call a meeting on, let's say,
I mean,
January
I think that's
3rd.
what you gotta do, is that you have your individual conversations, you have your idea, and then you have your meeting on January 1st.
Finalize it,
To finalize your nominations for the first meeting.
put it on the,
Yeah.
and put it on the agenda for the first council.
I think so. You're working awful hard because I'm trying to think and, you know, I haven't only been law director for a year, but I've watched council for years. Is, you know, that first meeting's the all important meeting. And you hope like heck that you don't have some crazy business between January 1st and and this year, January 6th, but after January 6th, you really do have the ball rolling.
Yeah, and we have
Yeah.
rules that said you're gonna do it at the first meeting, but it was impossible for us to do it at the first meeting. So we gotta run it second.
And the way that it currently sits is we've effectively almost lost an entire month of committee meetings because we weren't able to get committee.
Yeah, I think we can do this. I gotta think of it
Okay.
and be so quiet.
I'll let it, so you can come back. I mean,
I'm trying to think through all the
the
hypotheticals.
last meeting, the peer said, well, maybe you put in that you try to get it done in the first 45 days. Now you're at the second meeting
Yeah,
in
you're-
February.
Month and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's gotta be more sense of urgency on it, and that's why I think you gotta get the ball rolling.
So,
And if you put the president in charge of that. Yeah. That's one person that is able to take the reins on it. You don't have to wait for a pro tem to be elected. In order to do the rest, you know who your president's gonna be because they're elected. So let them take the reins and
Yeah.
have something ready to
I
go.
mean, as council, in most cases, it's gonna be existing council returning,
Right.
trying to keep things going quickly and appropriately. This isn't a great effect on the citizens. This is
Well,
your guys' own
what if,
operations. It's not, you're not voting on, try to have a quick meeting on whether or not we're
and I was never in,
selling a piece of property.
I wasn't. Well, I wasn't around paying attention when they did this prior to this year, but it seems like the information request goes out and by paging through the other sheets in that Excel spreadsheet, it was color coded that somebody went out to the council and said, here's your current assignment. Which committees are you interested in? Sir? Which ones do you want off of? Which ones would you like to continue on? And to get the feedback for that committee to make their decision. This time, we just had 9 new members, which is pretty. Hopefully, it'll be many years before we have 9 or over at a time. So it could be that committee, the president picks that committee. It could be 3 of the existing ones that said, hey,
or it could be 3 new ones if the president feels they need a breath of fresh air.
so that whatever the president does, they start assigns that committee and somebody's gonna still send out the notice, for those that are coming back, do committees you want off of or which one you want, if you want to try a different one and stuff. Okay, then I'll draft it. I'll just change pro tem to president on that. There was also some discussion on president pro tem, but I didn't change anything on that. About ad hoc committees and there was also, I think the president pro tem, is still appointing members to the ad hoc committees. And the president pro tem is still the one picking for people to, negotiations. There's a clause in there and if somebody to negotiate.
For police and fire contracting issues.
So they're still from down this road. That whatever, I can clean this up pretty quick. Then I'm gonna have Rob read it all clear. And, you guys can decide how you want to go forward. Or if I missed anything.
No, I think with some of that language that we eliminated from just conducting business during meetings, it puts the power back in the president and keep control of that meeting. And I don't think we need to make rules about how long it lasts. The president just can have a feel of it, which is good.
Real quick, Dave, we want to go back to under debate, Jay. Is what we're trying to do there more like most jurisdictions, and even ours says, I think it says it's requested or recommended that the mayor, the auditor, the treasurer, the law director, or service safety director attend meetings. There is no requirement that they do, I think they should. But I've been on village councils where you don't see the village administrator if they have one, unless there's a village administrator issue. Other than that, they don't need them. They're being inconvenienced, or whatever the case may be. But is this section, it's basically what I'm getting out of this section, more like a Robert's rule thing, where this is council's meeting. Council will discuss, debate, make motions, do what they got to do for city business. And if they have a question, for the mayor or the auditor or the law director, they make that question and hopefully they're there to answer that question. But are you saying if I rose my hand and speak on the issue of buying a new fire truck and said, gee, I don't think we ought to buy a new fire truck. So says a law director, you're gonna say, nah, you're out of order there. Because that's not my business.
I would
buy a fire
if
truck.
you said, I mean, if the odd, you can't afford it, or if
You would allow that interjection.
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, clarification on if the was under attended or was one of the referees.
My understanding of the intent is that it would give the president the ability to not be forced to recognize folks outside of council. So it would be a discretion as opposed to a unwritten or a written mandatory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if I've never done it in our council meetings, but in the past, like at a village meeting, I'll say, mayor's from the meeting there, I just say, Mayor, and I usually sit next to him. I said, Mayor, do you mind if I say something on this? I just want to say, what are you gonna say? No.
well, in most cases, that's probably the way it works, but under attendance, the mayor, director of law, city auditor, city treasurer, executive director, service director, and city engineer are requested to attend and answer questions relating to the affairs of the city under their respective supervision and control.
So I've liked that,
That's it in there.
I'm just making sure I see where you're headed with, if I get out of control, you would have the ability to shut me down, as the old rules or the current rules say, I've got the right to debate, which throws me in
They do.
as the law guy asking about fire trucks.
It's really, it's what you guys want. I just run the meeting. I was trying to eliminate. I was really saying that council debates the issue, but they get input from the other attendees of the meeting. They, reports come in, suggestions come in, but I feel it's council that's doing the debating, not, you get a vote. So, and technically, people are only allowed to talk twice. We haven't worried that it hasn't been strict enough with the guys to do that yet.
Right.
But basically, if the mayor presents something, you present something on zoning, you present something on some rules. Yeah, you're in the discussion. Council can ask you questions, and you present it, this is what you think it should be. Right. They debate it. They ask you questions. If they say something that's totally misrepresents what you put in, you clarify. If there's a financial issue and the auditor presents some information and they start debating it, but they're really messing it up, then the auditor's got to right to clarify. It's like, no, that's not what that number represents.
Right, and that's why I like to practice that the city has had for like administration and such, is when you have something goofy, in the packet on the agenda, there's always that letter, whether it's from me, that says, hey, here's this ordinance, here's why we're doing it. And so that way you got all weekend long to say, do I have any questions about that? I don't think so. Or you could ask me in advance. That way I'm not having to do all that speaking at the meeting and take up time. I'm gonna put it in a letter. Or Stashak puts in the letter why we're moving funds around. And he's pretty much said his piece without even having to say a verbal word at council. And plus it's in the packet and everybody in the public gets to see it. So
Then,
that still works.
and then they can still ask questions of the meeting if those people are present,
Mhm.
and try to get some clarification. Or if you put it in the letter and you presented it to council, council starts talking about it, and it's like they are understanding what you put in the letter. And you need to clarify.
Right.
What, they're not really providing new information. It's
Right.
not just clarify.
I would probably raise my hand and say, Mr. Speaker, may I make a comment of clarification?
Right.
So in advance, I'm not going crazy.
So that's,
Yep.
that was the direction we were going. If it's, I don't care. Versus it was wide open, everybody has the right to debate and the issue up there, and we typed it up.
Right.
Uh, Comments?
I've just got a question under new business.
Okay.
It seems like the administration can just bring up stuff as like a news information. I don't know about new business, what new business is supposed to be.
Good question.
Well, you're referring to using it as recognition for good deeds and recognizing the plow crew for putting extra hours in. Is that what you're referring to?
Or just giving a news thing about different things going on. I don't know.
Well, it's-
Referring to more of a city update as opposed to new business needing to be
Right.
council.
Right, it's not something would be on a mayor's page. It's being it's council's meeting, it's not an administration meeting.
Yeah,
I'm just.
but they're trying to put an administrative kind of newsletter at the end of our meeting.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
I know what you're saying on that. I guess she doesn't typically take more than 2 minutes on it and I don't know. It's not really, he's exactly right. It has nothing to do with council business. But it's also good. It's a public forum. It allows her to help us recognize. Then, I mean,
I'm just asking.
yeah, I know, and I'm trying to think through it, but is there really a reason to make a rule against it or change the agenda because of it? I don't know that it affects our meeting enough that
Yeah,
we need to make a policy change about
I
it.
think the president just keeps it under control. If the mayor says, I'd like to wish my neighbors happy
Right.
birthday and all that stuff who live down the road from me, I guess you could like, after the meeting, might say, enough of that, mayor.
Yeah. Well, and that's it, yeah.
That nobody
have to say,
has any interest.
at the end of our meeting, like, say something and you have to.
I mean,
Acknowledge,
sure,
right?
the mayor has the rest, she can do the announcements and proclamations and stuff at the beginning of the meeting, and that doesn't really, that's kind of sort of outside of our council.
Well, but I guess my point, my point is, does it matter if she does it at the beginning of the meeting or the end of the meeting, or are you gonna make a rule telling her she can't do that? I don't think it's worth our time of discussion for.
I know, if it becomes
30 seconds
if
to a
it's
minute.
not in here saying she has the right to do it, if it becomes excessive, we tell us.
You can shut it down.
Tone it down.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Just asking.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a good, I guess I'm saying it's a good question.
Well, that's what, yeah, I mean, that's what I was asking for, is like, some of you other cats, you know, I think I captured.
But then anybody else in administration can do that also, just not the mayor. Anybody. See, it's not the administration.
Anybody that the president recognizes.
Okay, because it's not the administration meeting, it's the council meeting.
Correct.
So,
Maybe in good taste, the
Council-
president,
That's when
Before
council sets
council
meetings
say-
and stuff.
I'd like to do something.
Yeah, if somebody comes.
You could ask it early or let it fly.
Speak for a couple minutes, seems like a right to feel.
okay.
Or shoot.
Yeah.
I guess that could be the other thing is you could ask the mayor instead of doing it during her new business, she could do it during public communication. Since she's technically a guest of us and we're recognizing her to speak. I guess my point is it doesn't matter where you put it in the meeting.
Yeah, I don't think it changes anything. I think the way she does it at the end of the meeting is sort of like it. Just leaves the rest and not short and short. Yeah, short. Nice to sit up.
Meetings on the
The
thing.
only good note.
I'm good with that.
The good stuff, add to the agenda, the good stuff.
That's what we wanted to say.
Unless she's criticizing council, then maybe you want to.
But you better gavel her.
In charge.
So I can get a draft, I mean, couple of cleanups, I'll copy and all of you, including Rob, or I'd like you to take.
I'll send an email out on that
Okay,
president organization committee thing.
okay, and then now the question is, how do we want to proceed and
The approval.
get the council, the rest of the councilmen to have an idea of what proposals you're recommending? Do you wanna? I don't see a reason for it. There's no rush. I don't see a reason to be trying to vote on it at the next meeting. perhaps.
I was just gonna recommend that maybe we get together again on the 12th. Which is 2 Thursdays from now. 4 o'clock in here, as I give everybody enough time to kind of draw it up, look at it, review it, Mr. Feitner. You want a month to look over it?
Oh, good.
I don't know
No.
what your,
I'll have,
I don't know how much, I don't know how much quiet time you get.
I'll have my thoughts to you guys on that early next week. I don't know, next
We
week.
be available on the 12th, guys can still be,
Right.
I'm out that weekend.
When you have a draft that you like,
It's not that.
I think you could have it just, Denise put it on the agenda, council rules, draft consideration, and it's in the packet or it's emailed to them. And
They can ask us.
when we get to the agenda, you start kicking around. What would you guys think?
Yeah,
And if they say, I want that change or this or this or that or that, they say it's great. Then we'll all sit there and say, okay, Laura, draft up an ordinance for the next meeting or resolution to adopt new rules.
and you might get a call, right, individually might get a call, and somebody go, what are you thinking?
Right.
But I would suggest that, we don't put it up council agenda until the 17th of February.
And it sounds like we don't need to have another meeting before we do that.
Unless
We just need to,
Yeah,
when the draft comes out, kind of respond and say,
the reason.
Get it.
this looks good.
I was cautioned if we start doing emails back and forth.
Yeah.
and Making decisions, then we're breaking sunshine laws. So,
Yeah.
we'll send this out, everybody, I want Rob to maybe comment on the legalese or.
Yeah, if we're not, if you're emailing and not having a discussion, if you're saying, hey, you forgot to change 2024-25 to 26-20, whatever, that's one thing. But where you're making new decisions and having discussion, now you're having a meeting.
So,
Well, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think once these changes are made, I'm good with putting it in the packet, hearing what council has to say about it.
Even if there's a typo, we'll give it to council,
Right.
let's get it rolling.
And then if we need to reconvene and set another meeting, once council has it in their hands to look at it and ask questions, then we can reconvene at that point. Otherwise, we'll just push it through and we don't have to meet.
yeah, right.
So I guess on your draft, it's submitted to council.
We'll finish this up and we will. It's not an agenda item for next Tuesday. But it would be, we could, if I can get it, we get it cleaned up. And Rob may still be reading it, you guys may still be reading it, but we can put it in the minutes of this meeting. I can attach it and you can.
No, I would, this mean probably ought to say,
Draft being,
final changes being made to be presented to council possibly February 17th
Okay.
for discussion.
Yeah, and that way we don't have to make any motions. We don't have to do anything.
And then if council at 17th says, looks good to me. And then I come back the next meeting with a resolution or ordinance. I don't know how they've done it in the past, whatever, I'll keep it the same. Getting new rules adopted. If council at the 17th has this discussion, and someone makes a motion to change something, and all the council, majority council agrees, and we're gonna be marking that on there. We're gonna change the draft
To get better, would they just, instead of having 10 members trying to propose changes to the rules, would you do that? Or would you, if the majority of them objected to some of the changes of the regular, you just send it back?
go back.
Just come back to committee?
That'd probably.
Either way.
Council planner.
But I think at some point in time, you're gonna want to comment to council.
Yeah.
And then decide that, then council decides whether to leave it the way this committee's done it,
Right.
or to include that, have that change made,
Yeah,
and
I'm
submit it next meeting for proof with an ordinance.
That's procedurally on the
Right.
right side. If
And I think,
if you're basically walking through anybody concerned about one change or another change, or whether to.
all right,
No, I think you have discussion and you hear, I mean,
points or.
you hear what you hear, and if what you're hearing is we need to go back to committee, then we'll take it back to committee, but if you're not hearing enough to make it concerning, then you just vote it, or you
Right,
send it back and have the order.
I don't think the changes in here are
drastic.
huge
Right.
to council members, especially when
It was more cleanup.
a now retired council member might go, wow, that's kind of goofy, but what do they care? They were used to their old ways. This council is not used to anything other than what they've observed. But none of this is drastic.
Right. We're not gonna get the feedback till we submit it anyway.
That's true, well, that's.
Yeah.
So do we wanna have,
Not this week, I
we get a draft to them, but. Yeah, we'll get a draft on this weekend if we want to, or we can just get it to them sometime next week and they can soak and they can.
I wouldn't rush it. I'd just plan for that meeting 17th to have it in the packet for review.
Okay, but that packet, they won't get that back until a couple of days before the meeting. Do you want somehow to get it to a week or so early?
Well, they would have it on Friday before Tuesday meeting.
I don't think I'm expected to read the rest of the packet. What would be any different about that?
And these changes aren't changing the way we conduct business in council, so. I think they're, yeah,
I think it'd be.
right. So I mean, there's no rush to get in and try to
Okay.
make sure council runs any better, so.
Again, we're not setting up another meeting. I will get a draft out. We'll comment and if there's no necessarily changes to the draft, we will submit them before the Sunday.
Should we adjourn this meeting?
I have nothing else. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Aye.
roll.
Meeting adjourned.
Stay warm.
Thank you all.
Live views.
All right, ending this stream.
All my guys out.